Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Kings of Fantasy Football podcast. I am your co-host, Pablo, and here is my co-host.
Leo.
So, on today's episode, and now that the um, first week is in full effect, tonight is the last week, or the last game of week one. We're gonna start our in-season schedule. So today's episode is going to focus on waiver wires, and then Friday's episode will focus on the matchups for that upcoming weekend. We are also live on Twitch as well as TikTok. So for anyone joining us on those platforms, please drop a follow. Um, Feel free to comment. So again, on today's episode, we are going to um, discuss waiver wire pickups. So we're going to start off with quarterbacks. So for any of my Jordan Love owners, I'm very sorry for your loss. Wasn't as bad as people hoped. So you may be in hunt for a quarterback. So my first waiver wire pickup is going to be Matthew Stafford. He's available in 60% of leagues according to Sleeper. He had a pretty good showing last night, even though Puka Nakua did get hurt. I think he is a good enough quarterback to put on your roster, especially if you're a Jordan Love owner who lost your QB. So that's my first waiver wire pickup. Who is yours?
My first waiver wire pickup for quarterback position is going to be Baker Mayfield. He had a excellent game against the Commanders. He threw for 289 yards and 4 touchdowns. He got everybody involved. Chris Godwin, um, Mike Evans, the rookie Jalen McMillan, and even the running backs also. So he's definitely he'll be my number one. If I have Love, which I do, in one of my leagues, he's the one I'm gonna be trying to go after.
I
And he's rostered at.
definitely like.
I'm sorry, no,
No,
I was
go.
gonna say
What
that
were
he's
you gonna say?
rostered in 40. No, that he. I'm sorry that he was rostered in 41.4% of sleeper leagues.
41%. Wow. Definitely like that pickup. That was gonna be my other waiver wire pickup. I'm grateful to have him in one of my leagues. So in case one of my QBs goes down, like you said, he showed a good showing for this first week. He got everyone involved. Mike Evans had 2 touchdowns. Godwin had a touchdown. Spreading the ball. And in his post-game interview, he said he does his best when he has fun, and that he can have fun with that team. So um, Matthew Stafford and him are a good pickup if you're in need of a quarterback. Now, if you're in desperate need, um, maybe you're in a 2 QB league and there's no QBs that are available, would you pick up Malik Willis, Leo, if you didn't have an option?
I gotta be really desperate. Um, I would only
You
consider
gotta be really desperate.
I would only consider Malik Willis only if like he's in a if I'm in a super flex league and stuff like that. Other than that, I would try to find someone else. Whether even your boy Sam Darnold, Geno Smith, that he's available in 25.7% leagues and 14.3%. But if you're in a super flex league, everyone's available. You gotta go for everyone. So, because you need quarterbacks. Quarterbacks, as you can see, go down at any moment. So, and then there's a little bargaining chip. So, unless I'm in a super flex league, I would just let them slide. what scares me a little bit, with Malik Willis is also the other receivers. What's gonna happen to them? They all, Reed had a great game, and so did Watson. Like those guys, I see them, you know, taking a big hit with Love gone. So that's something you gotta keep an eye, keep your thoughts on.
All right. That was going to be some of the quarterbacks that I was going to mention as well. But like you said, um, there may be some better options in Geno Smith. I know Sam Darnold. I'm really debating of picking him up as my fourth QB, just as insurance policy. And man, I am going to be the first to admit that I was hesitant. I did not think that he would do well at all, but he proved me wrong. Um,
Yeah, it's only one
really
game.
good accuracy. I mean, it's only one game, but I mean, really good accuracy. There was a lot of performances from star QBs that didn't go well. You had Joe Burrow, Caleb Williams only didn't even reach 100 yards. So you have people that, analysts will say that have loads of more talent than Sam Darnold, and Sam Darnold did better than all of them. So he's only rostered in 3% of leagues. Um, so those are some of the quarterbacks that you want to pick up on the waiver wire. If you're in a one QB league and you have two QBs already, I wouldn't drop any of those QBs, but in two QB leagues, like Leonard was saying, people can go down at any moment. So you want to have some insurance policy.
I want to say one like
Now,
oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to say like something like if you're in a super deep league, especially super flex, one guy I would think about like stashing, if you have the space, is Jameis Winston. Um, Deshaun Watson looked not too good yesterday, and it wasn't really accurate. And I like Winston's a gunslinger, so it's just something like I said. If you have extra space and super deeper leagues, someone to consider.
all right, yeah, people have already been calling for Jameis Winston to maybe take over. We're not sure if that is going to happen, but like Leonard was saying, you may be able to stash him. Now, moving on to wide receivers. My first waiver wire pickup should be a no-brainer. He is rostered in 78% of leagues, and that's Jameson Williams. I think after the game last night, he is showing to be the deep threat for that high-powered Lions offense. He got the game ball. He showed a lot of quickness. People were a little scared when he went down momentarily, but I didn't see any reports of him dealing with any injuries. So if you don't have a good depth at wide receiver, or you need a starting wide receiver, I honestly believe just because, again, that high-powered Lions offense, he has high upside. He may be, wide receiver two numbers if he continues on this pace. So that is my first wide receiver to pick up on waiver wire. Leonard, anything to add about Jameson Williams?
Yeah, no, he's always had the promise of and the potential of being a stud. The only thing, he's just been inconsistent, had injuries, dealt with suspensions. But last night you saw when given the chance, he can produce. He's a game breaker. He can make big plays at any moment. So if he's there, grab him. More than likely he's gone, but yeah, definitely if he's there, I'll swoop him up quick for sure. In terms of my first guy, I'm actually gonna go with Rashid Shaheed. He's available.
All right. So looks like Leonard was having some difficulties and we seem to have lost him. But we will continue with wide receivers. So the next wide receiver, if you are in need of a wide receiver on your roster, um, he is only rostered in 91% of leagues, which I'm surprised he's not at the full 100. But he had a really good week this week, even though Love did go down. I do expect the wide receivers in Green Bay to still perform. So it is Jaden Reed of the Green Bay Packers. He had 2 touchdowns in week one, made the most of his targets. It seems like he is going to be the wide receiver one, or looking like it, in that Packers offense. Um, BJ Brunette and Najee for Devontae. Thoughts? That is a tough one. Devontae did get targeted this week. Seemed like it was Minshew's favorite target. Minshew didn't do exceptionally well. Um, they did run the ball with Madison, but if you're in PPR, I would definitely think about that trade, especially if it's a 1-for-1. Um, so PPR league, I would prefer Devontae Adams. So if you can get Devontae Adams for Najee Harris, I would definitely think about it. If it's a standard, then it's a different story. But that is something that you want to think about. Because,
Sorry, had some technical difficulties there.
yeah, it's okay. One of our viewers from TikTok was asking if you would trade Najee Harris for Devontae. So I was kind of telling him it depends on if it's standard PPR, but it looked like Minshew was looking at Devontae's way often.
Right. Yeah, Najee, he had a good game. Surprisingly, he had most of the carries, and most of the touches, like a really big margin compared to everyone else. So, is that gonna continue? We don't know. Maybe that's the first game. Jalen Warren, he was still recovering from an injury, even though he played. So, maybe the game script, had him carry them more. So, Davante Adams, if you're stacked at running back and you need a receiver, yeah, definitely go for it. You know, especially if you're in a PPR league for sure.
The second receiver that I was talking about was Jaden Reed. Even though
Okay.
Love went down, he's only rostered in 91%, which I'm surprised he's not at the full 100. So, especially since Love's not going to be out the entire year, you have space. I would, stash him for when Love comes back.
All right, cool. I don't know if you guys heard the first receiver I talked about was Rashid Shaheed. He's available in like 47% of leagues. He was the Chris Olave was very distant. He didn't really make an appearance there.
Non-existent, yes. I
Yeah,
I have him
yeah,
in a league, and yeah, he didn't do much.
yeah, yeah. So the one league that I had him in, he disappointed, and then so it is what it is. And but Shahid, he had a throughout camp, they've been hyping him up, and he produced. He had 73 yards and a touchdown, so definitely someone to look at there. Another receiver I was looking at and a little bit more deeper was I don't really like the guy, but I was at the game and he actually showed up pretty well. Gabe Davis, he was targeted a few times and then he came up with 3 receptions for 62 yards. Someone to look at there. And just because of the injury to Puka Nakua that he's gonna be out, they actually just news just broke that he's gonna be on IR. Probably the one receiver that's gonna go up, play alongside Cooper Kupp is Demarcus Robinson, and he's definitely should be a hot waiver wire pickup for sure. I have a couple other guys. I don't know if you have more, but let me know.
So I like the Shaheed one. I'm contemplating of picking him up. I just don't know if Saints offense is going to be that high powered. Their opponent was the Carolina Panthers week one. So I don't know if that's an overreaction, but if Olave is not producing, then somebody has to. And it looks like, Shaheed,
Yeah.
maybe that guy. Um, was not aware that Demarcus Robinson would be the go-to if Nakua is out. So if that is the case, they can't just throw it to Cup all the time. So it's like Demarcus Robinson's automatically in that um, wide receiver two on the depth chart. Um, so I do agree, especially with just Stafford. Although I was a little concerned when he went down yesterday as well, because man, there's so many people that went down
Yeah.
this week. Um, but I do like all of those for waiver wire pickups if you have room. Now moving on to running backs. Um, the first one that I'm gonna say, just because I didn't see much competition for carries, is going to be Alexander Madison. I honestly did not think that he would still be relevant. I know last year with the Vikings, he had a few games. Now that he's with the Raiders, did have some nice runs. The head coach Antonio Pierce does like to run the ball. He had 16 carries, touchdown. Um, so um, that's my first running back. If you have the roster space, who's yours?
Yeah. So other than someone that we're gonna talk about later when we get to that position, tight end, um, one of the guys that I'm gonna be well, I doubt he's probably available because, like I said, I usually focus on the 50%. But a couple of guys to look at is uh, J.K. Dobbins. Yeah, he's at 58.4% rostered. He basically took over that. I he has all the talent in the world. He just always gets injured, so it sucks. I actually stayed away from him in all my leagues because the injury is always like around the corner with him. But when he plays, he's a beast, man. And yesterday, he had 135 yards rushing and a touchdown, and he got the majority of the touches there. So he's definitely one that I would look to get. Another person that's also over 50 something percent is Charbonnet. Uh, he's the backup for Kenneth Walker. He's rostered at 55.6%. He had 41 total yards and a touchdown yesterday. Uh, Kenneth, had a little bit of an abdomen issue that he left the game for a little bit. So, and he tends to have deals with injuries as well in the past. So, just someone to look at there. I have more guys later, but over to you.
So one thing I failed to mention is that Madison's available, or he's only rostered in 10% of leagues, so you should be able to get him if you have a spot. Now, one thing that interest or interested me in that Ravens game was the fact that Henry wasn't on the field as much as I thought he would be. Um, they were actually using Justice Hill.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know if it was just because it was a close game or they wanted him as another option for Lamar to throw to. He's rostered in only 11% of leagues. So I don't know if, he would be a viable pickup. But again, it's just something that was interesting because I'm like, man, you paid Derrick Henry, you got him, and you weren't really utilizing him, I thought, as much as that they would. Lamar had, over 100 rushing yards. So something to think about, keep an eye on. Um,
Yeah, Hill's a good pick because Henry doesn't really is not really a factor in the receiving game, and Hill is so. one of the second year player that he's just on IR right now, Keaton Mitchell. He's once he comes back, he'll probably take more of that role, but Justice Hill did well.
My other running back that you want to look at is Brian Robinson from Washington. He's rostered in 82% of leagues, so you know, he's still not 100%, so he had a good game this first week. He had around 16 fantasy points. So if he continues to, help out the rookie Jaden Daniels, because Jaden Daniels didn't have that good of a game passing wise. His average pass was like 2 to 3 yards. So if they continue to use Brian Robinson, I think that's a good running back to look at since he's not rostered in 100% of leagues. You got anyone else before we move on to tight
Sure.
ends?
Yeah, I got actually about three more guys. One is Bucky Irving. He's the rookie I've been hyping for a bit. He he's only 24.1% rostered, and he had 76 total yards yesterday, and he actually looked better than Rashad White already. So as I was saying, so we'll see. We'll see. I will try to get him now before he's not attainable. One guy that I noticed, being at the game, that he wasn't a factor at all last year, but he actually did well was Tank Bixby with Jacksonville. He had um he had 73 total yards, and being that Etienne fumbled, that's that's pretty good. He wasn't a factor in the receiving game, but he did rush for 73 yards, and he's only 10.7% rostered. And one guy even further back, obviously, another person to pick up even before tonight's game is Jordan Mason. He's 34.8% rostered, and he's with Elijah Mitchell out for the year. He's CMC McCaffrey's handcuff, and out. He's definitely up there. We haven't seen him play yet this week, but you know McCaffrey was already dealing with a calf injury, and definitely I would pick him. And a guy even deeper with only 4.8% rostered is he had a pretty good showing. And I actually looked a little bit better than Josh Jacobs a little bit, to be honest with you. Emmanuel Wilson, he had 46 yards, and he also had like a 24% snap share already. So as a rookie, so it's just something to keep an eye on. But if you're in deeper leagues, you have to get what you can get. So those are just guys to look at.
I really like CMC's handcuff, especially if whatever he's dealing with, because I know originally it was hamstring, then the official report said Achilles, which is different parts of the leg, so I'm kind of confused. But if, anything is lingering, you would think that, they're not going to use him as much, which is where Jordan Mason can come in. So really like, thinking about his handcuff. So, moving on to tight end, there was some tight end injuries that happened this week. You have Njoku, who has an ankle injury. He goes week to week. You have Jake Ferguson, who also got injured. So, if you don't have one of those elite tight ends, you may be like in a tight end carousel, to where, you're just picking up tight end based on the matchup. Or, you may try and find someone that may be that every week type tight end starter. So, like, I have Njoku, and if he's not starting, my backup is Conklin, who plays tonight. So, if he gets utilized in the passing game, then maybe we'll just plug in Conklin. But before we get to your tight end, Leo, I have a question from Max. Should I start Brian Thomas or Jameson Williams week 2? Brian Thomas did have a touchdown. Jameson Williams also scored, if you're referring to one from Detroit. Out of those two, for a flex, I like Jared Goff better, thinking he is a better quarterback than Trevor Lawrence. So just because of that, and Jameson seems to be like the big play. Receiver, I would go with Jameson Williams. Leo, do you agree? Or would you go with Brian Thomas?
Even though Brian Thomas didn't get like I said, I was at the game yesterday, and Brian Thomas looked good. Uh, Trevor, there was a play that was in the end zone, and if it wasn't for a pass interference, Thomas would have got like at least like a 40, 50 yard touchdown. So, obviously it doesn't count. We didn't see it, but he was getting open, and Trevor was throwing his way. So the I would say probably like you say, Jameson has the better quarterback, and and he has a good matchup with going up against Tampa this week. So I will lean towards him a little bit, but don't if you see like don't get prepared to start using Thomas soon in your lineup because like I said, he is making headways, and it should be a startable every week. So get ready.
But that's a good problem to have, though, if you have both of those guys on your roster already. Um, I only have King Thomas in one league. Never even crossed my mind to get Williams, and he had a really good game last night.
Yeah.
Who is your first receiver? So
My first tight end, you mean?
pick up. I mean, sorry, tight end. Yeah.
That's okay. So I don't. I love Isaiah Likely. I don't know if is that what you said or no? But
I have not
you
said
haven't
my
said
tight end
okay.
yet.
Okay. So yeah, I think that's gonna be everyone's number one waiver wire pickup in any position. Isaiah Likely, he's only 30% rostered. He had 9 receptions, 111 yards, and a touchdown. And he almost had a second touchdown, but it got taken away because his toe
Because
was
of
on
the
the
toe.
his toe was on the end of the stone. But yeah, he's someone definitely to look at.
Now let's take some time and talk about that because all the experts that I've seen, I'm I'm not saying that it's a bad waiver wire pickup
Yeah,
if you have the roster space. I think if you're picking him up thinking that he's going to do that every week, I don't think that's going to happen. Um, it's not like Mark Andrews wasn't on the field.
right.
They may use two tight end sets, but I don't think that, again, that Mark Andrews is just going to become non-existent. Um, so that is my opinion. Again, I don't think that Likely is going to completely replace Andrews,
Not me either.
and just have those stats every week. So if you're like, oh, I'm the first person on the waiver wire, and that's the one that you're gonna do, thinking that you can just start him every week, I would just think about that.
Oh, if you're the owner that's Jake Ferguson, like me, he's my number one pick. So it depends, obviously. Or there's a couple of tight ends like that didn't show up at all, but you know, it's someone to look at for sure. Like I said, it's 30%. He's more than likely available.
More than likely, yes. Now the tight end that I would think about picking up, um, just because now that Naku went down, so there has to be some target share somewhere. It would be Colby Parkinson from the Rams, rostered only 10% of leagues. So if Naku is going to be out in a certain amount of time, like I said, targets have to go somewhere. So before we say another tight end, Vinny is asking, should I start Xavier Worthy or Chris Godwin week 2? Um, Personally, Worthy looked really good. While the experts were saying that when you looked at Worthy on the field running, it looked like he was twice as fast as everyone else trying to chase him. That little screen, I don't even know if he got touched. And if he continues to be that big play threat or being used like kind of like Debo Samuel, because I didn't think they would use him in jet sweeps, to be honest. Um, he had 2 touchdowns week 1, so Mahomes was looking his way, which I did not think he would be getting looked at a lot, especially with Rice, Kelsey. So just the amount of, you know, targets that he had really surprised me. I think he has more upside. I don't know if Baker Mayfield is going to have that every week, um, but I do know that the Chiefs got better, which is scarier to me because I don't know how you allow the defending Super Bowl champs to get better with a player like Worthy. What about you, Leo? Would you start Worthy or Godwin?
Yeah, we have to ask Buffalo that question, right? Um,
Right.
for trading those freaking picks. Um, it's hard. Like what Worthy did last week as in his first game. It's hard. It's hard. Like it's kind of like they let the genie out of the bottle. How can you put the genie back in the bottle, right? He's free. So like yeah, I don't know. Vinny didn't say if he was PPR or not. So if it's PPR, maybe Godwin might get the uh the the look from me.
Receptions, more
Yeah,
targets, yeah,
yeah.
more
So
looks.
that's something to keep that in mind. If it's a half PPR, then you can kind of go Worthy. So yeah, to me, you can't go wrong with either one. But I would probably lean Worthy barely. But yeah, I would try to put both of them. But yeah, Worthy.
Yeah, um, I was just wow, man. I
Good
don't
problems to
know
have, man.
how
Good problems to
I don't know how NFL teams just didn't even look at Worthy.
have.
Um, let's see. Another tight end. Um, just depending on how he does. Um, or I mean, I don't even. Let's see. How did he do this week? So yeah, he didn't do well at all. So he was only rostered in 50%, but he didn't have a good week 1. This is just based off of my league. Um, and Conklin's only rostered in 25%. So if he does well tonight, then that may be someone to look at. You have any other tight ends?
Yeah, Parkinson's was definitely another my second one to go after for sure. Yeah, like you said, he's only like 9.2% rostered, and even with Nuka, the sorry Kuka there, he already had like 4 receptions and for 47 yards. So and that was with him there. So he's another like I said, Robinson and him should probably get some of those some targets for sure. Another guy maybe to look at. Oof, we're getting deeper here. So is it's kind of tight between I don't know Foster Monroe. He he's one of the 3 tight ends in with the Saints. Even Jawan Johnson. The thing is, like both of them scored touchdowns. Not Tyson Hill. That we all thought he was gonna get more love.
Right.
No, he was barely used. And then these 2 guys, Monroe had 4 receptions on 4 targets for 43 yards and a touchdown. The one thing to keep in mind with Monroe, he does have he goes back with being having good chemistry with Derek Carr from his time with the Raiders. So they're both from there, and So that's something to keep in mind, like in deeper leagues, especially like tight end premium leagues that are that's something to look at there. Jawan Johnson, he's good too. The thing is, he only had 3 targets, but he had 2 receptions for 26 yards and a touchdown. So those are a couple options there, like in deeper leagues to look at.
All right. Now, defenses wise, um, don't know if you're in need of a defense, but I think the Chargers look good. Looks like the hardball effect is real. Didn't expect, like Leonard was talking about earlier, Dobbins to have such a good game. Herbert didn't do, you know, too well, but he did have a touchdown. But, maybe now with Harbaugh, it's going to be a much more run focused team, which may benefit Herbert. But the defense did look good. I don't know if maybe that was just because they were fixing Minshew. But that may be like a streaming option, or if you're, want to pick up a good second defense. What about you, Leo? Any defenses that you thought looked good
Yeah,
after week
so
one?
definitely the Chargers is one for sure. They have a good matchup with playing the Panthers in week 2. That they got demolished by the by the Saints, so that's definitely a good pick
By
there.
the Saints.
Yeah, by you. One I went into the week that I thought it was a good pick, but then what Seattle that they did okay, whatever. Because I thought week 2, they're gonna play the Patriots, and look what the Patriots did. They kicked the Bengals ass. So um, let's see, let's see what happens there. But that's Seattle's kind of one there too. Um, Other than that, like I think the Chargers, you guys should have that available there to pick up. They're very lowly owned. Another team that did well defensively was the Bears. They had a phenomenal defensive game, and they basically even though Caleb Williams didn't do nothing, only had 76 yards. They won that game because of the defense. They had a couple of pick sixes, and they dominated. They made Levis look foolish, which he has in the past. So because he's a
Yeah, I
gunslinger,
think
so they
definitely,
made him pay for mistakes. Sorry, go ahead.
definitely the defense saved Caleb Williams' debut. Um, so um, this week they don't have the greatest matchup in facing my hometown team of the Houston Texans. So I'm not sure if you want to start them. Um, so those are essentially the waiver pickups. Now, before we wrap things up, we do have 2 questions. One from Dylan asking, should I start Christian Kirk or Tyler Lockett? Um, I thought Christian Kirk looked good. Um, Honestly, I didn't know if he would do as good just because of Brian Thomas. It did say some deep balls going Christian Kirk's way. So just between those two, I would choose Kirk over Lockett. Leo, do you agree?
Um, I'm actually gonna lean Lockett here. Uh, I in the preseason, I thought he was done, but he actually came back and did well. He had 7 targets, 6 receptions, 77 yards. So this is the Grubb's first the new offensive coordinator with him, and they had him going. So I would definitely look to his way. There, I love Kirk too, but the thing is that Lawrence now has Thomas. He has Gabe Davis. He has obviously Kurt, Evan Ingram, Etienne. So he's got a lot of options there to go, to throw to, and you know, and Lockett's always been like a wide receiver too there still. Yeah, and Jake Bus can't get past him, and I think Metcalf I think got a little injury too, so that's why maybe towards Lockett.
Okay. I know Lockett has been consistent, so um, those are our thoughts. Dylan, now Robin is asking thoughts on Drake London and Deontay Johnson. My thoughts on Drake London were just as I expected, to be honest, which I'm glad I didn't draft him for a third year in a row. Everybody thought that the Falcons were going to be revitalized with Kirk Cousins, and that didn't happen. Pitt's owners were happy because he at least had a touchdown, um, but to me, it's a letdown because I think Drake London was ranked like top 10, top 15 before the season started. So I don't think he lived up to that average draft position. Um, Deontay, I'm not gonna talk bad on him because just the Carolinas team, even with Bryce Young, who showed some shades of getting better during the preseason, he threw an interception on his first pass. So that pretty much sums up my thoughts on Bryce Young. Between those two, Drake London has the better quarterback, so by default, if you had to choose between those two, so I don't know if you're just asking for thoughts or because you don't know who you would start between those two. So if you're asking who do you start between those two, I would say Drake London.
All right.
Leo?
Yeah. So yeah, yeah. It's kind of unclear like what our thoughts are, but I think I have an idea what he's trying to say. Like should we keep them? What's he gonna do with them? So I I would just say both scenarios they played against really tough defenses. You know, last week to me I set to bench Deontay Johnson because he was gonna have a tough matchup with Marshawn Lattimore. That's what happened. Number one receiver. He locks them down, and that's what he did. Um, London, like I said, they play the Steelers. The Steelers are, they have a good defense. So just be patient with both of them. Uh, keep going. Out of the two, I think London, like Paulo says, he has the better quarterback. I would lean, if you had to start between both of them, maybe him. But just have faith. Just don't throw him, don't bench, don't put him on the waiver wire, don't drop them yet. Just keep him another week or two just to see, if they can get going. Like I said, there's just two tough defenses that they faced in week one.
All right. Just want to say thank you everyone for all the likes, all the comments. We are going to get to them before we end. The next one is from Z Salfino. What should I do with ETN? So Leonard was saying that he did have a fumble and that they were using Bigsby more. If you're asking like what should you do if you want to trade him, um, I wouldn't panic. I think ETN's a good running back. Um, and Robin was saying what should he do because he has both and he's trying not to panic. Um, so with ETN again, I wouldn't panic just yet. I think some people will overreact after week one, but remember it's a long season, not only for NFL teams but for fantasy. So um, unless you're gonna get someone to make a deal with you for like a top tier wide receiver, um, I wouldn't worry about them. Louis saying that someone offered me Reach, Shakir, and Worthy for MHJ. Do you know who MHJ is?
Hold on, I'm going down the list here. Hold on. Uh, NHA? I'm trying to see it.
MHJ. So M is in Mary, H is in Harry, and then J.
Oh, Marvin Harris Jr.?
A Louis.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
Oh, okay.
I thought you said N. I
Um,
couldn't see that, sorry.
Even though Marvison didn't have the debut that people thought he would, I don't know if you saw clips, but he was. I've never seen a wide receiver more wide open than Marvison Harrison Jr. to the point where there was no Bills defender in the camera. So if you haven't seen that clip, so I don't know if that was just a breakdown on the Bills side, but if he can get that wide open, eventually Kyler's gonna throw it to him. Kyler looked good. He was spreading the ball around, which I didn't think he would do. I thought Marvin Harrison Jr. would get all of the love. Um, so I think I would rather keep Marvin Harrison, even though it's for Shakir and Worthy. Um, you know, Marvin Harrison was getting drafted like the wide receiver one of the Cardinals, and I do think he is going to essentially be in that role. It's week one, so a lot of teams are probably still trying to work out the kinks. Leonard, would you trade Marvin Harrison for Shakir and Worthy?
Man, it's Reed, Shakir, and Worthy for Marvin Harrison Jr. Whew, I'll think about it for sure. um, yeah, Reed, was a baller, and Worthy too. So, I don't know if this is dynasty or whatever, but if it's redraft, yeah, I would do it for those three guys. Sure.
All
For
right.
Reed and Worthy alone, probably. The other thing when you do these trades, you just gotta be mindful that when you're getting these three guys, but then you also have to drop players. So if you're stacked and you don't, you have to start dropping players. Just keep that in mind because you don't want to. Damn, I'm picking these guys up, but then now I gotta drop this stud and this other stud, and like damn. So you just keep that in mind. If you have a couple scrubs there or whatever, then yeah, go for it. Like I said, Shakir is cool. Like I said, Reed is good and worthy. The thing also with Reed also is that remember Love's gone now for a while, so he might not be as good as he was week one. So this all that you have to keep that in mind. That's why he's trying to trade you all this stuff to get Marvin. So just
Yeah, because
think of all think of all those options
that's a
and
lot of
stuff.
roster space.
That's a lot of roster space, for Harris.
A Raw is saying is trying to trade ETN for what should be for what should I get for him? I need a running back and maybe a wide receiver. I mean, ETN was drafted as one of the
He was drafted in the second round.
um
In the second round, so
yeah one of the more top running backs for fantasy. So unless you're gonna get someone of his caliber, there's very few workhorse running backs. So unless you're gonna get um, someone of his same caliber, again,
yeah.
kind of just be careful.
Yeah, if
Um,
you have to get for your biggest need. If you need a running back that's has to be like his same level, like Paulo was saying, and also receiver. He had a 70, even though he had the fumble, he had a 70% snap share. So he's still gonna be involved. He's the PPR running back in there. So like I said, I was at the game and he was being used even after the fumble. They kept going his way. So you have to get someone solid for that. That's in that level.
um, Greg is asking Mixon over Marvin Harrison next week. So even though I am a Texans fan, I'm not going to be biased. So Mixon did have a good game, but I'm hoping that the Texans don't use him to that extent every week. It's just not attainable in the sense that if you're going to be using him 30 times every week, he's not going to have any gas left in that tank for the end of the season. So while I think that the Texans offense is good, um, having to run the ball that much, that's not what the Texans did all last year. And um, you built that team to allow Stroud to throw the ball. Um, so that's my thoughts on that. They do play the Bears, but the Bears defense did have a good showing in Week 1. So if it's PPR, I would do Marvin. If it's standard, then I would do Mixon. Your thoughts, Leo?
Yeah, between Mixon and Harrison, I like Mixon. Mixon was used, running the ball, receiving the ball, and I think he did really well. So I would uh I would lean towards Mixon.
All right. So we do have to start wrapping things up. So I'm just gonna kind of quick fire these last ones. Dobbins is available. Should you drop Samir, Terry, Riddler, Kyler, Ferguson to get him? If J.K. Dobbins is available, I would drop Ferguson just because Ferguson is hurt and you have McBride as your tight end one. Would not panic on London. Still too early. Is Jerome Ford a true RB2? If Watson keeps playing like the way he's playing, then I think that's going to be the majority of their offense. Aaron saying that you traded Rice, Pacheco, um, and BTJ for Cup and Bijan, especially with Nakua being out. Cup's going to be easily the favorite target. And you're getting Bijan for Rice and Pacheco. So I think that's a really good trade. Henry, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Ford for Amon-Ra and Swift. So I'm not sure if that's a trade, Dan. If it is, I like the Amon-Ra side more than Derrick Henry, Marvin Harrison, and Ford. Holly McCaffrey, PPR. I would say
Both,
McCaffrey.
both.
Um, so if you have to start both, or if you have to start one, which I don't know
Yeah,
if you would only have to start one of those, but if you're
McCaffrey.
having to start two,
Yeah,
I'd
just
said both.
yeah, just check McCaffrey's health going into the. He was dealing with a calf injury. So just make sure he's really rock and ready to go, and hopefully they say that he's gonna be not limited. If you heard anything about limited, then go Hall.
So sorry about the quick fire, but again had to
No, it's
wrap
good.
things up. Um, we are going to be live again on Friday, so we'll probably have a lot more time on Friday, for getting a lot of these questions, but it is Monday. So that being said, again, thank you for all the likes, questions, follows. If you haven't dropped a follow, please do. Um, you can, and we will put it in the chat where you can follow us as far as the other platforms. Other than that, any remarks, Leo?
Yeah, thank you all of you guys for listening, and like I said, if you like the podcast, subscribe. This is gonna come out as a podcast too. So you want to go back and listen to the whole thing. Uh, you can follow us. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me on X at smooth1074, and on TikTok it's at ffleog.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Peace.